So all of this to say is that when you're in a situation where suddenly your values have changed for whatever reason, you will start to get a sort of nagging feeling that something's not quite right or something's not quite optimal in your current situation. Hey badasses, welcome back to Badass Careers, which is the place to be for anyone who actually gives a shiz about their career and what they spend 40 plus hours per week doing with their time. I'm Rosie, I'm an online coach and founder of Badass Careers, which is all about helping people find more purpose and meaning in their careers and also helping them to land their dream jobs and build up really successful side hustles and online businesses. So boy, oh boy, are we getting deep this week. This week is all about peeling away the layers to uncover your core values. They're values so deep that they guide your beliefs, your behavior, your decision making, whether you know about it consciously or not. And of course, they're one of the most essential keys to career happiness, because if you're not living in alignment with your values, you're probably going to have a bit of a nagging feeling, right, that something's not quite right. You may not know exactly what it is, but it will definitely be there. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 ways that you can find out what matters to you most, what your core values are, and also the causes that matter to you as well in the external world, right? So the kind of problems that you'd like to help solve. But just before jumping in, I want to cover off what do I mean when I say values. So values are principles that represent your highest priorities and deeply held driving forces and beliefs. They give your life meaning and they allow you to persevere through adversity. I love that resilience piece as well. Like they're what keeps you going even when the going gets tough. And it's a really, really important piece of the puzzle when it comes to figuring out what your career purpose is or what your why is, because your values right now will absolutely inform that. And I cover this off in week 3 of the Find My Why course that I offer. It's a free course completely dedicated to helping you figure out what your career purpose is. And week 3 is all about your values. So I'll drop the link down below if you want to go further, because they absolutely should be something that you build your next career move around. And why I say your next career move and not all your career moves is because although values are relatively stable over time, they can also change. I remember for me, when I was working as a Fortune 500 HR manager for the world's #1 beauty company, I was living in Paris. I was in a corporate role which required me to be, incredibly driven, pull long hours, but I absolutely loved it. I was in my element because my driving values at the time were very much around achievement and goal setting and attaining goals, and also around security as well. Now, when I got married to a French guy, I realized that my values had shifted, and my #1 value there was freedom. I had to have the freedom to be able to work on my own schedule and to be able to come home to New Zealand whenever I wanted if we were living in France, and to be able to work for myself and travel and just be able to basically organize my work on my own time so that I could always have the best of both worlds. We could go back to France if we needed to go back to France, or back to New Zealand, and everywhere in between. It became incredibly important for me. So I started to think to myself, how can I make this work? And this is one of the reasons I founded Badass Careers. So all of this to say is that when you're in a situation where suddenly your values have changed for whatever reason, you will start to get a sort of nagging feeling that something's not quite right or something's not quite optimal in your current situation. If you're someone who's quite conflict avoidant and you really don't value competition, for example, and you work in a highly competitive sales environment, full of KPIs and comparisons in the team and all of that kind of stuff, you're probably not going to be happy there long term. That's probably not a sustainable option for you compared to someone whose major value is competition. So that's how it can play out as well. Likewise, if something's changed in your life recently, just say you decided to become vegan because of animal rights, and you do find yourself working for example, a cosmetics company, and the way the laws work currently in China is that to sell cosmetics and makeup products and things like that on the Chinese market in China, you absolutely have to have them tested on animals. I don't think that you could be true to yourself and really be happy fully at work. There'll always be something that's kind of not feeling quite right if you're working for a company that has to do that. So in short, understanding your personal values are really the key to living a really authentic and happy life. So how do you know what your values are? Well, I'm going to give you 3 options today. So the first option is that you can click the link below in my description and do my Find My Why career purpose course. Week 3 is all about your values. And I actually get you to do a values sorting exercise. And in that exercise, you have a list of all of these words which are designed to kind of provoke, reactions and relate to values. And what you're going to do is kind of narrow them down and shortlist the words that mean the most to you. They represent something to you. And once you've selected these words that really resonate with you, what I get you to do is go back through the list and actually cross out the words where they're actually really aspirational and you'd love to be that and you'd love to do that, but it's not actually true. It's not actually currently a part of your everyday life. So for example, you might say, sustainability is really important to me, but in reality, that you're a bit disorganized, you don't often even do recycling, you want to be more sustainable, but it's not actually the reality for you today. So what you want to do is cross out anything that's not actually who you are today, your current reality, and the values that you're genuinely living. Then what I get you to do is go through the list again and see if you can organize them into sort of groups or themes. And what you're going to do is add a label to these themes that kind of sums up that group of words, if you will. And these groups, these themes, they actually become your top 5 values. And if you're really struggling to get it down to 5 groups or 5 themes, 5 values, what you can do is sort of play them off against each other. So at the end of the day, if push came to shove, would I rather this or that? And you sort of play them off together until you've sort of got your top 5 values. And what I really recommend, especially if you've used the words from my list, is that you give those values your own definition. So for example, if a value for you is freedom, what does that mean for you? It will mean something different to every single person. So then you not only identify your values, but you define them too. Now, option 2 for figuring out your values is really for someone who definitely wants to go deeper and further and into full-on sort of observation mode. So they're not just in their head thinking, what are my values? But they're actually seen in real life. Now, what I'd like you to do is actually keep a journal for 2 weeks, and at the end of the day, just jot down things that were a real high for you, things that gave you a sense of joy, were really fulfilling, they made you proud, you really enjoyed either something that you did or you saw happen in your environment that you thought was really cool. For example, maybe one of your colleagues was helping another colleague out and that really put a smile on your face. Note down all these little positives. On the other side, I also want you to start noting down the things that feel quite draining and negative and just don't sit quite right with you. And what I'd like you to do is at the end of the 2 weeks, go through and look for themes and look for patterns. And then I want you to start asking yourself the 5 whys. So the 5 whys is when you ask yourself why 5 times to get to the bottom of something. So for example, let's say I'm back in the corporate world, and something that I sort of notice is that I really hate the fact that when there's a big presentation or a big boss is coming, all the girls especially, and the guys, but we have to get all dressed up, put on loads of makeup, wear really high heels, in a particular industry, and really dress up for the occasion. And you have to put in so much effort into your hair, makeup, what you're wearing, because you're going to be judged on that. So why does that bother me? Well, because I like to be able to dress how I like and be comfortable at work, and being able to dress more relaxed, like jeans and sneakers and stuff. It makes me feel like I'm in a more modern, relaxed work environment. But why do I have that preference? Well, I think it's because I like to think that the hierarchy will actually take me seriously regardless of what I'm wearing, and that it's what's in my brain and my ideas and that kind of thing that matters rather than how you look. I think there's the belief in there that you should be able to do great work and be recognized for that without worrying about your looks Obviously to some extent, like, you know, when you have client facing meetings and that kind of thing, it's completely different. But I just mean like internal meetings, how you dress. And so again, I'll ask myself why. And I think it's because the way you dress for me seems really superficial. I don't like the idea of people getting judged on things like their appearance and the politics that go with that, and the assumptions that people make about the way people look. And I think it's because how can you link something like appearance to performance? Like, it just doesn't seem like a fair playing field to me. And so at the end of the day, what's at the core of this? Why does this really matter to me? Well, I think that you should be rewarded based on merit. I think merit is the only way you can truly have equal opportunity in the workplace. And also, I just prefer a much more relaxed work environment where there's less politics and having to think about things like that, and schmoozing to top managers and looking pretty for top managers just because you're going to present in front of them really did not float my boat. So that's something quite deep that I've uncovered about myself. And I could take it even further and ask myself, okay, is it because I'm a Kiwi, a New Zealander? Is it because, you know, we go around wearing jandals and it's very casual here? I'm from a very casual, laid back country, so maybe that's how I like the workplace to look as well. So if you start digging from something that seemed quite superficial, like, oh, you know, eye roll, I hate the fact that we have to get all dolled up for these big presentations. Once you start digging down, you actually can uncover something quite deep. If you do the same for the things you really didn't like or things that didn't sit right with you, you'll also uncover some interesting values as well. Exercise 3 is to answer some really deep, hard-hitting, I guess, questions about who you are and what matters to you. And these are the kinds of questions you can also find in the Find My Why course. So if you're interested in that, again, the link will be down in the description box below. But just 2 examples would be, what gets you fired up? What justice infuriates you? Because these are the values about what you think the world needs, what matters to you in the external world. So values aren't necessarily all about you as an individual either. Your values might very much be in relation to the way you connect with other people or connect with the world. The second example I have for you as a deep, hard-hitting question would be, whether big or small, what learning, experience, revelation, or life lesson has shaped you in some way? So we've all had life experiences, we've all had pivotal moments and things that have really taught us something or forced us to learn something really quickly. And it's always useful analyzing these to see if there are any core values or beliefs that you hold because of this experience. So guys, I hope that this has helped you to start thinking more about what your values really are and who you are as a person. Of course, this is just some food for thought, and the workbooks and the videos and, you know, everything you need to take it one step further are in my Find My Why course. If you already have your values in mind, I would love to know yours down below in the comments. I'll get started. I'm going to post down some of my core values down there as well. And until the next video, stay badass, and I'll see you then. Bye!